So I come from the field of public health, and in public health, we're very interested in talking to people who have lived experience of the whatever topic we're dealing with. And so last year when I attended this conference, we had various people who were formerly incarcerated speaking, and that's a really important voice to have. But I was really interested in having people who are currently incarcerated. And so, as Secretary Dismuke said, I visit prisons on a regular basis, and I always like to talk to people who are incarcerated in our prisons to learn what issues they're dealing with and understand rehabilitation reentry from their perspective. And so I asked the Department of Adult Correction if at this year's conference we could have some participation from people who are currently incarcerated, and I thought, would y'all let me do a panel discussion? And I just kind of envisioned that we would do one of the little side panels in the afternoon, and they said, no, we're going to put you in front of the entire conference. And so I thank DAC for allowing me to do this, and I want to thank NCCIW and Davidson Correctional and Orange Correctional for their wardens and their staff for getting folks here today. And I'm just really thrilled to be able to have a discussion about rehabilitation and reentry with people who are living this world, because people are very hidden and visibility is important. And so that's what I wanted to have today, is visibility of the people that we're actually doing this work for. So we're going to start. We're just going to go down the line, and also just want to thank our folks that are up here. How nerve-wracking to be in front of this large crowd. So I want to thank all of you. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So we're going to start, and I'm going to have you give your name and tell me where you're from and how long have you been incarcerated and what year do you anticipate being released. So that's a lot of, there's 4 things, and we can skip you. David, do you want to start? And here, can you talk into the...
Yeah, I'll be glad. My name's David Martin. I'm from...
I think you might need to talk more into the microphone.
Get a little closer.
Yeah.
How does that work?
That's a good idea.
Does that work a little better?
Can you take it out?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, there we go. My name's David Martin. I'm from the Lake Norman area, which is north of Charlotte. I've been locked up about 5.5 years. And I've got about a year and a couple months left, so I should get out next year.
Okay, great.
Hello, everybody. My name is Rosemary Hernandez. I am originally from Florida, but I live in Wilkes County. My family's in Wilkes County, North Carolina, and I've been incarcerated since March of 2022, and I will be released in January of 2029.
Hi, my name is Shannon Periolo. I am originally from New Jersey. My family is in Salisbury, North Carolina, which is Rowan County. I have been incarcerated for 4 years, and I get released in February of 2030.
Hi, my name is Carlos Santizo. I'm from Corona, California. I did not reside in North Carolina. I've been incarcerated since September of 2017, and I get out next year in August.
Hello, my name is Christopher Taylor. I'm originally from Connecticut. I actually have a home in Raleigh. I was imprisoned in April of 2018. I'm scheduled to be released January of 2028, and so I'm looking forward to that.
My name is Tyrone Hardison. I'm originally from Bridgeport, Connecticut. My parents moved down here to Kings Mountain. I'm currently doing prison time, and I'm about to get out pretty soon, in a few months. And it's been a long and hard and difficult road. That's why I get a little emotional. I don't like to admit that to everybody, but since you're all here.
Okay, so I think some of you are on work release, is that right? So I wanted just to get a chance for y'all to explain who's on work release and what does that entail for you. So Tyrone, are you on work release?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's just try it again. I am currently on work release at a pallet company, and I drive a forklift. I build pallets. I do whatever they ask me to do. When someone doesn't show up for work, they call me. I'm usually covering for somebody. And it involves me being outside in the public. No prying eyes, no one watching me. Everybody's expecting me to do my job, to do what I'm supposed to do, to be trusted. And it's took me a minute to get there where they don't have to look for me no more because they know I'm somewhere doing my job. So I enjoy that.
Yes, ma'am. I work at a furniture manufacturing facility. I run a router table, which takes raw wood and cuts it into parts that furniture is made from. It is a fairly responsible job. They don't stay over you all the time. They give you freedom. They let you do, as long as you're doing your job, they leave you alone. I do deal with the public some, so that's new. It's a little different, a little strange, but it's all working out. I'm very thankful to be able to work. It's very, very helpful.
I am not currently at work release. I work at the tag plant, which is an enterprise facility. So
That's important.
yeah, but I am eligible for work release now, and I'm working on it.
I do not have work release yet. I still have a little bit too much time because there's a requirement of 3 years or less. I have just graduated from Job Start, which was, yes, which was an amazing opportunity, as well as I graduated from Braille through Correction Enterprise as well. So it's leading to the work release. So now, you earn that right to even have the opportunity to work. So I've gotten to the point where in a few more months, I will be eligible and be able to do that.
I work at a nonprofit called Eyes, Ears, Nose, and Paws. I train service dogs, and my job ranges from teaching 8-week-old puppies where to use the bathroom to seeing the other side of the coin of being able to instruct clients through client team training how to take a dog home and handle them and be able to use them on a day-to-day purpose. There's so much in between, but in a concise manner, I teach and train people to train service dogs.
Well, my job isn't that glamorous. I work for a company called Steve's Garden Mart, and basically I make sandwiches. I work in a deli. I slice meat. I interact with customers. My main job is to make a customer smile so they come back again.
Okay, this is a broad question. As you think ahead to your release, what are the top issues that you're thinking about in regard to your reentry? And we can delve more into some of them, but just kind of what are some of the top things that you're thinking about? Tyrone, you want to start?
The one thing I wanted to come from this prison term is I wanted to become a better decision maker. So from day one, from the moment I step out of prison and don't have to go back, is I wanted to be a much better decision maker when it came to what I would do next. I don't ever want to go back to where I was before, and it's been a long, hard road. And sometimes I felt like I didn't need anybody. I don't need nobody to do anything, but that's not true. You need somebody along the way, and there's been some great people along the way that's helped me at Davidson. Ms. Reeves, Ms. Trina, Mr. Laws, the warden, and even some of the officers, you know, to get encouraging word or comment. So I don't want to take up too much.
Some of the things I'm really looking forward to is reuniting with family. You know, it's been a long process. 5 years has been a long time. Missed a lot of time with my children, so I'm really looking forward to that. You know, just getting back into the real world, having the everyday freedoms that I took for granted for too long. You know, it's been taken away. And like Tyrone said, you know, focus on making better decisions, keeping myself out of situations that I know can be dangerous. Decision making is a big thing. I believe it help keep us all out of here.
One thing I'm looking forward to is reuniting with my children. I have 2 young children. I'm very nervous because of the judgment once I get home. You know, everyone's going to look at me differently, so that's one thing I am concerned about once I get back into society and become a normal civilian. I'm also concerned about job-wise. I have a friend who just recently got released last year in January, and she's been struggling for the last year to get a job. So that is one important thing for me, because that's a step for me to get closer to being stable and having my children back in my home with me. So that is a big concern for me.
For me, one of the most major concern was housing, or even being financially stable to even step out starting with nothing. That was a big thing with me and concern, to where it's kept me motivated to earn work release. But until then, until recently, when I've actually graduated from Job Start, found more out about some programs that was available and learned about Arise, that kind of is Arise Collective, that's kind of now eased that situation, that worry that I had, that concern, because I didn't know where I was going to go or how I was even going to make just surviving, not even succeeding. But then through some of the programs that I've gone through, it's shown that it's not really not that much of a concern to me as well anymore. And the further that I'm doing, the harder that I've been working, and while being incarcerated, it's easing a lot of the concerns that I've had.
I think the one for me being out of state is first and foremost housing, and the biggest one is transportation. Less about buying a car, more about trying to get my license, and just seeing all the pauses that are going to be happening upon release there. Past that, I think it's just having confidence in self and being able to, we brand ourselves, and at the same time we are a brand, so it's on us to be able to sell ourselves to, become employable. I think that's a whole different question.
So yes, I would say the biggest issue for me is reconnecting to family. When I left, my daughter was 13. She'd be 23 when I get home. She's an adult. She lives on her own. So having to rebuild that closeness that we had physically will probably be the biggest thing. Another issue is probably identification, healthcare, housing. These are the top things that people need. Without those metrics there's no way you can succeed.
So, I'm not doing well with this microphone. Is there a program or an activity that you've participated in while you're incarcerated that has really helped with your preparation for reentry? Or if you haven't been able to participate in this program yet, that you're hoping you'll be able to, what is kind of the most important program for you so far that you hope to do?
One of the first ones that I participated in was Project Reentry, Miss Trina. And it wasn't even the program itself, it was her as a person. You know, she make you feel like you're somebody. All of you here, I didn't know this many people cared, to tell you the truth. But I'm thankful. But that's one of the programs I've done. HRD on the Adovo app on our tablets. I probably got about 100 certificates on different things that I've completed. And these are education, these are things that was provided for us. We didn't know about these things before we got the tablets and stuff. And we're able to do a lot of things online. Not completely online, because we can't get to too much, but enough where we can be a little bit more educated, you know, so,
I would have to say the Project Reentry, Miss Trina, she is a wonderful person. She's just really a caring, you know, genuine, heartfelt goodness, you know, a good person. But it's a good class. She brought a lot of from the outside vendors and a lot of outside people in that let us know, you know, the current events of how things were happening and what we would have to do, probation, parole. I mean, just the list goes on and on. But she does a wonderful job at Davis. And then I took a class called Thinking for a Change that Mr. Wright, our programmer, he recommended, and I just really wasn't all for it. It had a lot to do with acting and getting up in front of people, and I was like, that's just not me. But looking back on it, it was really one of the more beneficial courses that I've ever taken. So, you know, you just never know what you're going to get out of some of these classes. You just got to go set and get through them.
So I've taken a lot of classes, actually. I've worked most of my time at the tag plant, but I've done financial literacy, I've done small business, I've done computer skills, I've done everything that I can do. So once I do re-enter the real world again, I'll be able to transition okay. I got my resume done. Tag Plant offers a resume. They also offer a program once we're 90 days out. It's called NCJET to help us try to apply for jobs. So that's very beneficial. But my favorite program that I participate would be the Rec Club. I actually made vice president at the Rec Club. We do quite a few things. Our great advisor, who's here with me today, Ms. Parker, she is actually for us. She makes the community that we have in NCCIW. She puts on talent shows, we do summer bashes, we do fall festivals. We do a lot of programming, and thank you to Ms. Blunt because she approves most of them, and it's honestly a great pleasure to do a lot of these things there because it's not just a distraction, but it makes us feel like a community and not just, oh, we're behind bars or, oh, you know, we've done what we've done, but they don't make us feel like that. They actually make us feel that we can do better and provide better opportunities for us on the outside. So I'm very thankful.
For me, I as well have gone through quite a few classes, but I would guess I'd have to say that when I went through the Braille program they have through Correction Enterprise, it taught me a lot of self-confidence and that I can do more and that I didn't have to settle for any type of employment, or it taught a lot of skills, not just the ability to read Braille or translate it, or it helped build my confidence first, which led me to apply to other things for reentry, like Job Start, and that there kind of built on top of the confidence and helped me change from the inside to be a better person in entering into society again, and not going back to the old lifestyle or the old thinking, or that I didn't have to settle. That just because I've made mistakes, and I've made a lot of mistakes, and had reoffended quite a few times even. But this time they've shown that I don't have to. I don't have to go back to the same places or the same people, or it was just, it's all of it. It's not just one class that I've taken. I think it's just one on top of the other on top of the other that just continues to build that confidence. And yeah, as well as for like the Women's Service Club that I'm on. So it's not all business. It's fun things in the community that we can do that is beneficial to give back. So it's kind of like everything all at once, I would have to say.
We talked, Shannon, you had, and you already did today, really praise Job Start. Can you explain a little bit more about what the Job Start program is?
Dr. Doris Bullock was one of the instructors there. And what exactly it is to teach you like resume building, and not only, like I said, self-confidence too. It would teach you budgeting and pretty much even how to make a grocery list. Like it was a whole lot to it, as well as fellowship. It was everything involved in it. How to work with people that we might not get along with, and how to handle it, like not in the prison mentality, but how you would in, real life. It just taught a whole lot in a very, very short time. In my opinion, the class should have been a little bit longer like it used to be, but it really did help and benefit a lot, because like I said, there was a few that have never done a resume or had interview skills. So they taught us how to sit down and have like a fake interview. So what questions, how to answer, how to word things and not sound like, how to look on your appearance. They helped with that. It was like any little thing that could help benefit you, this class taught us. Dr. Bullock, Robin, Gwen, they all took the time not only to treat us like not an inmate number, but to show us that people really do care. Because a lot of women, I don't really know about the men, but a lot of women that are incarcerated feel like nobody cares, that nobody on the outside would even want to give you a chance, that you're always just going to be just a number. So for that, I've been telling everybody where I'm at to definitely, if you get the opportunity to do Job Start, it's through Wake Tech, it's through Rise Collective. They offer just so much to help build you, change you from the inside out to be a better person all around. Thank you. Thank you.
When I first got into prison, I was at Warren Correctional, and they offered a lot of cognitive behavioral classes, a lot of like human resource development, and I took all those, I guess, immediately, and I ran out of stuff to do. So my next option was the kitchen. And the case manager at the time, Mr. Meadows, was like, I'm going to put you in this dog program instead. And I was like, I grew up in an apartment, so I didn't really have an affinity for dogs, if you will. In any case, since 2018 up until today, I've been in this prison dog program called ABLE, which stands for At Both Ends of the Leash. And I would say a lot of my, progress and success, and I think as well as confidence, came on behalf of that. So not only are we caring for dogs, we're also teaching each other in a community, full of inmates, not just how to trust, but also how to get along, right? So like conflict resolution, conflict management, and things I never knew existed, like time management, goal setting. So now living my day, day in and out of being able to plan, what am I looking for, what is the priority, what would I like to accomplish, and being able to moonlight as a UNC student now. So I'm in a correspondence course. UNC accepted me as a student, so I now have 2 IDs, state ID, UNC ID. But I will say most of the programs that they offer are absolutely, if you, I can't remember who said it. Somebody said, show up, be present, and regardless if it's your flavor or not, like something will come from it.
Like Mr. Zantizo, I was a dog trainer for 5 years. So within this program, you know, being in a close-knit society as it was, you know, we bonded differently. I mean, if you walk by our block, you would not see like a bunch of inmates in there. It was different. You seen friends. Like, I remember us having a UNC class together, and we did like a study group, you know? So like, we kind of like thought differently just because of being in this dog program, because it teaches you to like, you have to get along with people. You have to understand different positions, the different people from all over the state. And so I think the ABLE program really was a jump start to like how me and this guy actually was able to like become better men. Beyond ABLE, I would have to say UNC. To date, I've probably taken about 13 courses in person with UNC. So again, you're being humanized by these professors. It's not about a letter grade. It's about you being able to show that you can do the work. You know, so they teach us how to like, again, be more human and be like more accepting of different cultures, different policies, different people. And so I think beyond that, you know, the administrators at our prison at OCC allowing these people to come in and help us be better people. That's it.
Yeah, and I've heard professors who come inside the prisons say that those are definitely their favorite students. Like, those are people that want to learn. So, yeah, it's a great population to teach. So it works both ways. You benefit, they benefit. So this is a kind of a big category, mental health. What has been the impact of incarceration on your mental health or mental well-being? And are there things that make you have a worse day or a better day?
Have to tell the truth?
No, you don't have to tell the truth. You don't.
Every day I feel like I'm losing my mind, I tell you.
Fair enough.
You know, we got to battle for the shower and the tea. Somebody's turning the TV. Somebody's dragging a chair across the floor. It's making all this noise. It's just irritating. And it just drives me crazy. So every day we're going through a little something, but the hardest part was making the mental changes. I knew I had to change from the inside because I was very stubborn and narrow-minded and resistant to change. I thought my way was the only way, but I realized I needed to change. And if I want to do better, I have to make the changes. So mental health plays a big part because I'm the first one to say I'm not crazy, but I need help. I need help.
Tyrone's right. You know, it can be very nerve-wracking. Just the smallest things, being confined with the same people day after day after day can become very irritating, to say the least. So mental health is a big issue in there. You know, me personally, I've learned not to be so judgmental towards people. You know, it's not always got to be my way. You know, I don't always know what's best. I know what's best for me, you know, but sitting back and watching other people live, you know, it's a give and take. It's a give and take. Some people don't see it that way, but it makes life easier for me to really, to be more of a giver than a taker to an extent. You know, it just seems to make it work better for me.
One term I have learned since my incarceration would be, let's agree to disagree, because there is a lot that we will not agree on. And as my colleague said, there's a lot of little issues that you can have. We have open pods and we have small pods where you have just one individual other incarcerated person with you, but there's sometimes when you're in an open pod and you can't do much of anything. So I've actually grown with my mental health. me being personally Hispanic and coming from the background that I come from, mental health does not exist. If you are not crazy, there is no bipolar, there is nothing of that as you grow up. It's a mind over matter thing, and that's what they pushed. But once I got incarcerated and requested the help, because I requested it, knowing that I needed it, and that the fact that y'all provide the opportunity for us to request it is actually amazing, because outside I had Medicaid, but they don't, they can't just go to the psychologist and be like, hey, so can I pay you with this? So it's honestly great that I can see a therapist and talk about the problems that I have in the dorms and things like that. And they give me, step by step, hey, how about you do this instead of blowing up? Because I always had an anger issue personally. So after that, I've grown from where I started in 22 to now because of the help that I've gotten with mental health.
For me, first becoming incarcerated again, there was a lot of mental issues that I had, but we were offered therapy as well as medication if needed. So I took advantage of it. I was like, obviously my way didn't work, things that I needed, so I started speaking to somebody regularly, like every week. Then it went to, after the years started going by, it took a little less and less because they offered different skills, different things, methods to help with the small issues of living with all these other women, and not everybody is going through something internally, and knowing how to deal with it instead of acting out, and how to pull yourself away from the stress, the things that it is a very stressful time. It is very difficult to deal with and learn how to just survive. And then as the more time you do, you don't want to just survive. You want to grow. You want to change. So to me, I would take advantage and go through, like I said, speaking to a therapist. Then it went to just doing the exercises they talk to going to different staff members, to, pulling yourself away, reading the Bible, trusting in God. So for me, with my mental health, I no longer really speak to a therapist very often. Instead, like I said, the classes that I went through, with even the last one with Job Start, it taught breathing exercises to help with mental issues and stress, just everyday stress. So I still I'm learning and growing as I'm going. And I'm thankful that the opportunity was there from the beginning, because in the very beginning, I feel like you need those services a whole lot more than it. Now, maybe when I get towards my end, I might need it more at that point. But as of right now, I kind of am doing it more on my own then. So it's, yeah.
I've been trying to figure out how to answer this one. So when I first came to prison, I realized then how much there is to do. We don't just, for y'all that have never been in there, we don't just stare at the wall or wait for chow. There's a lot of stuff you can get into. Now looking back, and again, with that time that we have, I was able to reflect and realize that I was kind of conditioned already to come with a certain mentality to prison. So being from Southern California, there's a stigma to that, and being in the Hispanic culture, mental health does not exist. With that, I think looking back, I was the only person in the cluster that I hung out with that had yet to go to prison. In any case, so my first couple of years in prison, things were normal, if you will, in my mind. And it wasn't until COVID hit that I realized there were fewer and fewer things to distract myself with, or to find myself weaving through. So this one guy that was in the next cell to me asked me one day, he's like, why don't you go to a therapist? I'm like, there's nothing to fix, right? I'm fine. So I thought, then I realized there's this thing, I think they call them emotions. In any case, being able to look at self and realizing I was in the way of my own self for growth, being able to journal, being able to have somebody to talk to, I realized how important that was. And again, looking back at the stuff and seeing how delusional I was, thinking that I did have it figured out by myself. And looking back again, like my best judgments got me here, being able to speak to y'all about my experience. And again, like I am where I need to be. Ultimately, though, the beauty of prison is that it gets to slow you down, and it does give you opportunities if we decide to take them to grow, to be able to peel back those layers. But again, it's up to you whenever you're ready. And when I say you, I'm speaking about myself. There are prisons that offer mental health. There are prisons that do not, and it's all like, I guess, resources and just the way the prison identifies itself. So I got lucky ending up at Warren at what they call a medical camp and also a mental health camp. So they distribute medications, which means they have staff, like nursing staff 24/7. With that, again, like not knowing that I was not just delusional, but like self-tending, and it wasn't working. I reached out and I got curious and realizing how important it was to be able to just have a conversation with somebody who can ask the right leading questions, the well-worded questions for you to figure out on your own, if you will. So yes, mental health is super important in prison.
Well, the one shout out I'll give to Viapath is that they have a calming app on their tablets, which is actually beneficial. There's one called Brain Space, I think, which is like a meditation app, and so I would regularly use that just to bring myself to center, if you may. It's tough being away from family. So then what I tended to do was like I kind of built the family in-house. So there's people that I will say that, I mean, I love genuinely, like my mother birthed them, that I grew up, spent the last 8 years in prison with. And so these people have become I guess an in-network family. And it's helped out a lot. Again, I journal, I write my daughter. She has about 9 books of journals that she doesn't even know about yet. But that's the one thing I'm gonna give her when I get home. Just give her these 9, 10 books and just like, this is what I thought about you every day for the last 10 years, period. This is what we do. So that's been like my way of like, I guess, self-medicate myself for therapy, I guess. Because I've never seen a professional, to be honest with you. But, it's not off the table.
So, picking up a little bit on what you're talking about, Christopher, with children, I know everyone on this stage has children, and I'm very interested in how parenting is a part of rehabilitation and reentry and how important it is. And so I was wondering, what have been your opportunities to stay connected with your children while you've been incarcerated?
I have 2 boys. They're both grown men, and they still love their father. I've never had big issues with them about me being in here because they both knew I had a problem, and I have to deal with it. And that's one of my big regrets, not being there for my kids. I only have 2. Again, they're grown men, and my oldest boy, he's at home. It's just me, my mother, and my son. My dad's gone, so it's just us. And I try to not talk at him, and I told him this recently. I don't want to talk to you like you're an inmate. It's because you're my son, and I love you. And he tells me he loves me too, and I know he does. But it's been, it hasn't been easy because it's easy to tell your kid or your child what to do. It's even harder to set an example for them to follow. And I want to be an example for my son. I don't want to get home and I don't want to breathe down his neck like I'm breathing down an inmate's neck back where I am. I want to be reasonable with him, and I want him to come to me when he has an issue. I want him to see me doing what I said I was going to do. I don't want to, my father had this saying, don't talk the talk, walk the walk. And I carry that with me to this day. And but our children they're the next generation. And we have to teach them to avoid places like this. And I don't want anybody here to feel sorry for me because I deserve to be where I am right now. I deserve the pain, the misery, whatever I'm going through for the day, I deserve it because I broke the law. And my family, my parents, did not raise me to be the person that I was. And it's been a long road making some changes, but I can't wait to hug my boy, and I can't wait till he's playing his favorite video game, because I'm going right around in front of the TV and give him a big hug.
Well, in my opinion, dealing with family is the most difficult obstacle within the prison system. You know, ViPath they have a video visit type app that we can use now, which has made a tremendous difference. You know, because I have a hard time for my family to come back and forth. I have an older son, which lives in Indiana, and then I have a younger daughter, still in the Lake Norman area. But it's just difficult for them to make it there a lot of times. With the video visit during the week, you know, you get to see them, you get to talk to them. You know, I've not really tried to do the parenting like Tyrone was saying, you know, fussing and trying to, you know, tell them what to do and all that. It's just very difficult. It's just very difficult. There's a fine line there between wanting to raise them and see them do the right thing and having to fuss at them, and it's just very difficult. So the video visit has helped a lot to being able to be in person with them. You know, like I said, without a doubt, in my case anyway, that is definitely the largest obstacle with the prison, with being incarcerated at this point.
So I have a 12-year-old daughter and a 9-year-old son, and it's very difficult, like they said, to parent, because we can say all this over the phone, but at the end of the day, we didn't set the right example. So how can I be judgmental to them acting out for my mistake? So what I do, honestly, in the beginning, before ViaPath had the video visits, because my family honestly can't really come all the way up here to Raleigh, so I would call, I would communicate with my daughter as much as I could. I didn't want her to see me as the stern parent. I wanted her to be able to talk to me and tell me what she's going through, what she's feeling, how she is also suffering from my mistake. So my biggest regret is that I left them so young. I also, now that I have ViaPath, I do try to do my younger sister's the one who helps. My mom is older, so she can't really do all the technology stuff now. So when she has a chance, we try to video visit as much as we can, and it helps a lot. Them seeing you helps a lot because they're like, okay, so she's here, she's present. I also write my daughter weekly. She has a whole binder of since I was in county to now at NCCIW that I have written her every week, and I try to motivate her and tell her positive things and push her to do better. She was struggling in the beginning of my incarceration in school, very, very hard for her. It was very hard for her. She didn't want to study. She didn't want to sit down and read. She didn't want to learn. She didn't want to do anything. Now she is a straight A student. Now she has become what I know she could become. And my autistic son, he is struggling at the moment, and I know that is kind of my fault because from day 1 to 6 years old, all he knew was me and his father, but at the same time, all he knew was mom. So when I got taken from him, it was like shell shock for him, and he struggled his first 2 years adapting to my mother. But his father finally stepped in, and now he's adjusting. He still has a difficult time at school, but he's adjusting better. Autistic children need schedules. They need, I guess, what we get in prison. You know, they need their set of rules. You have to push them to do better. You have to push them to, the word no does not work with him, so do not try it. But as long as you have a steady schedule with them, they work better. And honestly, that's been a great deal for him. So Just parenting him, though, is very difficult. He talks to me. I actually got to talk to him on Easter, and we had a great conversation. He talked about his Easter basket and all the chocolate he got to eat. So it's just been one difficult process, though, as being incarcerated and being a mom for younger children.
Yes, it is very, I have 4 children as well as 3 grandchildren now and 2 on the way. Parenting is extremely difficult while you are incarcerated because you're not there physically with them every day. Children need that stability. They need that to listen because, I mean, to be honest, how can, like we was said, how can you tell them how to act, how to behave when obviously when I didn't follow the rules? So I've kind of, with mine, had left the parenting to my mom, and she had handled that. I was there as far as to listen. I would help with homework over the phone and be consistent in their life as far as with the phone calls every, set days, not to miss letters, cards, things like that, because they needed to build the trust back up with them. There is different programs that NCCI offers as far as with children, like different parenting classes that I have taken to help with that, as well as they offer the match program for mothers with their children to bring them to and from and help in a better environment so it's not quite like a prison visitation. But it's just so much, it's just so many difficulties along the way that you can't really parent. I mean, in my opinion, I couldn't really parent. So it was just to be there for them because at the end of the day, the children are the ones that suffer the most behind our mistakes.
Participated in the match program?
No, I'm too old for that. My children are grown. They don't allow it for grandchildren, but I know of it because I have quite a few friends that are involved in match and how much it has helped them. Because you have a lot of requirements to even be able to participate in it, which is good because it shows that you are working and you do what genuinely want to change. And it's definitely something that benefits the children. They, just from the women that I know that have visits with their family and their kids, and the effort these volunteers do to they were bringing this one friend of mine's family in from Maine. Wow. And they were participating in these visits that could happen, you can have the visit like every month, and it's in it looks like a little kitchen, like a living room. It's not a prison. There's no guards standing there, and because that's intimidating to a child, and it makes it better for them. It's focused on the child. It's not, and it does help, but it's just so many difficulties trying to parent.
So my kid was 2 when I got locked up. He's now 11. And it wasn't until last year, January, that I got to speak to him for the first time. My lifestyle choices kind of, for the sake of their well-being and their safety, anyway, they chose to separate themselves, and I just took the time to work on myself and figure out, what caused this issue. With that, I will say one thing that helped me is the father accountability class that I took. I was super close-minded at first because it's like, you should do this, you should do that, right? Like telling me how to manage somebody else's life. I couldn't even manage my own at that time. And it gave me a chance to reflect and realize then when I actually, again, showed up and was present, I realized that it actually helped me dive into myself and realizing where was 9-year-old Carlos at these times during these conversations. And what came from that was being able to now that I've have my son back in my life was do what I've learned. It's called egoless parenting, and basically just show up, listen, have the conversation with him about those lows that are happening throughout the day, as opposed to you should do this, you should do that, this is where you need to be. I don't think that works. Like, we're met with resistance there naturally. I mean, look where I'm at, right? And I say that just in the aspect of that class went such a long way. I think Coastal Horizons is here also. I do want to shout them out also because they have this thing called Parent Day at the prisons. And despite my kid being out west, I participate because we do demonstrations with the dogs that we have in training, and the kids get to play with them. All the more, through conversation with them, I was able to get resources about like how to have a conversation with the kid about bullying, and that like moved mountains for me in terms of being able to model how to have a conversation with them. On top of that, I just think when I do have phone calls with him, it's about being able to like let him have the space as opposed to, how are you? What are you doing? Like it becomes an interrogation. And I think our intention is to build, relationship. Like he doesn't know me. I don't know him. It hurts to say that, but all the more, like you said, like being able to help with homework and stuff like that. I think what sticks to me right now is like he loathes math, as do I, right? So, like, it probably came from me. In any case, like I have the unique opportunity to be able to be present for him in those moments there, and having that discomfort for him feel safe as opposed to like, oh, everything's good, class is fine, school's great. And I'm like, I know there's a teacher that's kind of picking at you. Like, I have one of those, right? And just opening that door. And again, instead of being the mentor, being the coach, it's just being a friend to him more than anything else has helped. And again, I think the drastic reality of it is like these phone calls last 15 minutes. So I can be a dad for 15 minutes at a time.
So I have like two opposite ends of the spectrum. I have my oldest daughter, mom, who I have a great relationship with, and my daughter's been a constant in my life since I've been incarcerated. I talk to her, every week or so, every other week. We message each other on the tablets, what have you. So we have been able to continue building our relationship as father and daughter. I just can't be there physically with her, but again, she's my daughter. She understands that. And at this point, she's an adult. Funny thing is, before I came to prison, she's like, "Oh, Dad, I want to go into marketing when I get to college." Well, that changed with me being incarcerated. Now she works for the Mecklenburg Public Defender's Office. She graduated from... Yeah, she graduated pre-law from UNC Charlotte last year. So that's one end of the spectrum that brings me nothing but joy. On the other end of the spectrum, my youngest daughter, who's now 10 years old, like Carlos, I don't know her. And she doesn't remember me. She was 2 years old. And then, like, her mom just refuses to even try to, like, have us have some kind of relationship. So, like, that battle right there is something I can't even fight behind the wall. That's something I have to get out and then somehow, make amends so that I can be in my child's life. So that's, like, difficult. It's extremely hard, and it's something that brings me a lot of sorrow. Like, I didn't even mention her today until just now because I'm just trying to avoid having to, like, have the white, clear stuff come out of my eyes. I just don't, trying to stay strong up here. But, I think it's necessary that fathers and mothers be parents to the kids, regardless of where they are. And if we have some way to bridge that gap, then I think, for all of us in that situation would be better. Our community would be better because our lives would be better as far as our children and our families. And it is spread because I know a lot of people behind the wall, their number one problem is like building relationships with their children. It's difficult. Like Carlos said, 15 minutes at a time, it's just not enough. Thank you.
Okay, so I think a couple of you guys have community volunteer passes. Is it the Orange Correctional folks? So Can you explain what a community volunteer pass is, CV pass, and also talk about how having that privilege like plays into reentry for you?
Okay. So the CV Pass is it's a unique opportunity. So we have volunteers through an organization called the Yoke Fellows who comes into the prison. It's religious based because you got all kinds of denominations. But you have a volunteer that will take you outside of the camp for up to 6 hours. Now, you can go to, a grocery store, you can go to a church, or my first time out, I went to Jason's Deli in Barnes & Noble. So, to venture into these spots and these places, no one in Barnes & Noble know I'm an inmate. So they treat you just like any other customer, whether it's being rude or being nice, So it doesn't matter because they don't care. So, it's like, but it gives you a sense of, I keep going back to this human thing. It gives you a sense of humanity to actually feel like people actually care about you. Whether it's the girl at Barnes & Noble behind Starbucks, handing me a latte, and saying, have a nice day. I couldn't imagine, I don't remember the last time somebody said have a nice day to me besides that first latte outside of the fence. But it gives you this sense of like redeemable purpose, I would say. You know that there's people out there that care about you, even if they don't freaking know you. And so that's powerful to just feel like you're part of this greater community, which is us just plain being just human beings. And so with that being said, I mean, the CV pass that's like, I firmly believe that everybody that comes to prison should go on the CV pass because these people understand, what it means to have that sense of 6 hours of freedom to let you know what you're missing, because it gives greater value to me coming back to the prison and saying, you know what, 6 hours is enough. There's no way I'm coming back to this place. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, that's how I feel about it.
I think piggybacking off of Christopher, being out for 6 hours and stuff, it's a lot, y'all. So the uniqueness about being on a community visit is, like, you don't get to pick the schedule, so you just kind of go with the flow. And for me, again, being out of state, and I've had very narrow lifestyle choices, if you will. So I don't know anything other than a sandbox. And I told you last time, like, leave it to me. Like, I'm not going to pick a quicker meeting on a Sunday morning if it was my choice. So being able to step outside of self and see, like, these are things that exist as an option if I want to take them. That means, again, the discomfort equals growth, right? And just being able to choose the ability to say yes to go out to the free world. I've had experiences with guys that have said, no, I don't want to go out. That's a shock, and it's also interesting because, like, the comfort that we find inside of prison. Without trying to go on a rant there, I am actually excited sometimes coming back into the prison because there is a sense of, like, familiarity. I say that in the point where, so I went to church one day, and then after that, the guy's like, we're going to Walmart. And I was like, oh, cool, I haven't been to Walmart in like 8 years. So I go inside, and as soon as the air hits me, the guy greeted me, hello, welcome to Walmart. And I'm like, hi. Can I say hi to him? Is that all right? And it took me, I think, maybe 30, 40 feet, but it took me about 30 minutes to get from the door past produce to the frozen food section. And the guys, like, we had about an hour and some change, and, like, I didn't make it past the third aisle. But it goes to show you what the system has done for my mind mentally in terms of being able to, like, manage myself or not, right? And again, those are my choices. But it's also a unique experience to be able to go out and get just a taste test of, like, this is how the world is running right now. And it's a speeding train. We can, take it for what it is And the other part is just like being able to get it in just snippets. I think it's super, super fascinating, especially for, I think in my situation, like, I would hate to say, like, I've found comfort in prison because there's a predictable routine to it. And then you go out and, like, it's this thing, I like to joke around and call it, like, oh, that's adult stuff. Like, I'm not ready for that. But all the more, it's building a callus on me. Same thing with work release. I get a lot of interaction with people, people that I would have never imagined being in, like, social circles with. Yeah, CV Pass is powerful. They're moving, and they definitely reintegrate.
Thank you. So, Rosemary and Shannon, I'm interested in, many fewer women are incarcerated than men, but I know rates of incarceration are really increasing for women. And I've been told that there are maybe fewer reentry resources for women than there are for men. And I know we're working to change that. There's a lot of great organizations in here. But can you talk about how it might be different for a woman than a man dealing with incarceration or reentry?
So I think once we get back into the real world, like most people said up here, the big thing is housing. Not everybody has a family that you can parole out to, or a friend that says, hey, you can stay with us and get better, I think the housing part is the most difficult because there's not a lot of places for women to go to. I think they provide more opportunities for men than they do for women. And then the second thing would be like transport, being able to get from a job interview to the next job interview or to a job itself. There's a lot of less opportunities for women in that aspect as well.
For me, or my opinion on this, yes, it is. There are very few housing for women. Also, what I feel like is an issue is our staff doesn't really know about the facilities that are available. They may hear, if we go to our case manager and be like, within just 30 days of you leaving, then you applied it, but they don't even know really where to apply to. I think our staff isn't really informed as much as need to be. Like, I learned more about Arise Collective through Job Start. I heard about it now, mind you, I've been in CCIW for almost 4 years, and you'd hear a little bit about it here and there, but even the case managers don't know the full extent of the help that's offered. So therefore, the few other places that I know about just from my years in and out of prison, a lot of the case managers don't know about those places either. So there's not that many places for women, but even the few that they have, the staff's not informed enough on them to even offer it to other women who are being released. I've known quite a few women that were released and had to go on the street because there was no place for them. Their beds are very limited, and then just the information itself is not known to the population as far as the inmate population. So in my opinion, yes, we need more housing, but we need to also let our staff members know of these places, and what exactly is offered, because just because they might have this one house for women, it might not work for me. If I need, some women need to have their children with them because their children are there's no facilities for women with children. There's very, very few for that. So it's a lot of difficulties for men and women no matter what when you release, but you have to be in the mindset, but you also need the information from the beginning, not 30, 90 days, 60 days out. Like, you need that knowledge the beginning to be like, hey, this is what I need to work for. This is available to me. I mean, like I said, women don't know these things, so we need to start from, like y'all have said, day one, because we just need to know that.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm a member of the Joint Reentry Council, and we meet quarterly. And last November, one of the wardens said something that really got my attention. He stood up and asked in the public comment section of that meeting, what do we need to do to get people who are in custody to want to change? That was what the warden asked. And I figured you've probably seen people who don't feel very motivated to improve their lives while they're incarcerated. They might not be motivated to be infraction-free or participate in programming, and that very well could have been you at different times. So I wanted to get y'all's perspective. If you were the warden, this was your facility to run, what changes would you institute that you think would make people feel more motivated to change?
Boy, that's a hard question
That's a hard
right there.
question. That's a hard
I don't
question.
think I can answer that in one simple step because you got people who really want help and want assistance, and you got people who don't want your help. They want to take from you wherever, anytime they get a chance. But that's up to them. Whatever choice or decisions, you have to deal with the consequences of those actions, whether it's good or bad. And I can't pinpoint any one thing. They can't do too much more than what they're doing now. It depends on the individual's heart condition. If his heart condition ain't right, he ain't gonna do right. You could give him $100,000 cash and a car and a house. He's still gonna make bad choices and decisions. You know, he's still gonna do it, and it's hard. Even the Bible says you could beat a person 100 times with a rod, and he still ain't gonna change. You know, so it's not only on the warden, it's not only on the people that are trying to give assistance, it's on me. I have to make the changes. I have to want this. And I don't like people who sit around and cry all the time and talk about nobody's doing this, nobody's doing that. This is the United States of America. I could walk down the road with a wagon, with a pressure washer, and be pulling a lawnmower with the other hand. Somebody gonna let me do some work. There ain't no excuse for nobody too much not being able to make their lives successful, make something out of yourselves. Now the women now, they might have it a little bit harder, and I'm for them any chance we get to try to help or assist them. You know, they need more housing, but a man, we can sleep out in the woods and be okay. But they can't, you know. I'd rather give them the housing than have some myself. So that's, oh, by the way, I wanted to say that I too go out on CV passes.
Oh, okay.
I study the Bible with Jehovah's Witnesses. Most of my family members are Jehovah's Witnesses. And Jehovah has played a big part of me making changes, because every time I read something, I'm learning something new. I'm like a sponge, and I see where I need to make adjustments in my attitude and in my thinking, in my anger, and different things I need to make changes so I can be a better person. I don't have to be like that junkyard dog that's over that fence over there trying to get at you, trying to bite you all the time. I could be that little chihuahua just running around, wagging his tail. I could be a nice guy, you know, and I want to be a nice guy. Sometimes people don't always let you be a nice guy, but I want to thank everybody for listening to us, and First Lady Stein, she's beautiful, and thank you for helping us.
Well, I believe Tyrone is really got a good point. You know, some of these guys, you know, unless you're just going to give them something, they're not going to work for anything. They want everything the easy way. You know, our warden in particular, Mr. Laws, he gives us options. You know, if you do this, if you take this class, he's bringing new courses. Last night there was a new course come on for our facility that Warden Laws has worked on getting there. But if you take courses or you take the classes, you know, you remain infraction free, of course. You do your duties, you keep your bunk clean. Simple things, you know. Then there's room for progression. You can work your way up. But I'm like Tyrone, you can't just give it to everybody. I think our ward in particular is doing a wonderful job with the camp, like I said, trying to head it in the right direction. Now, that's up to the individual. That's up to the inmate, what they want to make of it, because if you're not going to do right there, you're not going to stay there. You have to be willing to make progression. But other than some of the things that are already implemented, I don't really know, what a warden could do or what anybody could do to make someone really want to do better. They have to want to do better in here.
So I definitely agree with Todd and Tyrone. It's up to us. If we don't want to change, it's never going to happen. If our mentality does not change, then we're just going to be going in the same cycle we've been going. We're going to be coming back and going in and going out and doing the same errors that we've been doing for who knows how many years. So like at NCCIW, they bring in new UNC classes all the time. They offer all these types of programs if you're infraction free. They motivate you. It's not like they don't. It's just the fact that you have to want it. So when I first got there, I was in despair. I didn't want to do anything. I was depressed. I was away from my kids. I had to sit here for another 7 years. I didn't want to do anything. But I've met people with mentality of wanting to change. I met people in there and surrounded myself with that same people. Like my colleague here, Shannon, she pushed me to do things I didn't know I could do. Like Christopher said, you become a community and you become a family in there. And if you don't have those people pushing you to do better, then you're in the wrong place. You need to be with people that have the same mentality as you. Once I did Kairos, I met a whole new sister community, and they push you as well. So it's all up to you. The wardens do as much as they can. Our warden at programs does as much as she can. Our rec advisor in programs does as much as she can. They provide a community, they provide everything that we really need, but we have to go out and grab it. Because if you don't, it's just, you're still in that same cycle. You're still pushing yourself to not do anything but sit around, not change, just keep being broken. Because we all enter broken is what it is we all enter broken. But if you do not decide to put a little bit of glue here and put a little bit of glue there, then you're never going to be okay again. You're just going to stay broken.
I'll piggyback on a little bit what Rosemary was saying. It does take from you changing from the inside. The prisons do offer, infraction-free incentives like food sales, which is always a great thing, because trust me, the food is important. That was always a big thing, because if you have a write-up or an infraction, you can't buy that, Chinese food plate you really want. They offer, different events, work from the Women's Service Club and the Rec Club to win, like, hygiene that you wouldn't get the opportunity to have otherwise because they don't sell it or you just can't afford it. That does, but you do, even taking advantage of those shows you that you have to change from the inside. You can't just expect doing the same thing and expect the same results, because it's not, different results. You're going to get the same results. Without being around, like she said, people that are striving to be better, you're going to fall back into the same cycles. Like, it's just, there's no other way to say it except for you have to change yourself and want it. The more they offer, the more, you can succeed. But, I really don't know how to add to that, because they've all said exactly pretty much what's needed. And it doesn't matter if you can offer 10,000 different activities or changes. If you don't want to change inside, it's not gonna happen.
Without trying to be an echo chamber, yes, I think wanting self-change is paramount. Is Ms. Cobbin here? Will you muffle your ears, please? I'm just kidding. in all reality, so like I've been through close custody, medium custody, and now in minimum custody. And when I first got here, it was such a culture shock to be at Orange because of just the space and platforms that exist there, AKA programs, right? And the fact that, again, like we're all striving to get the work release, the CV passes, the home passes, all that stuff. There are incentives there. I think the other part too is, going back to your question, was like if I were warden, right? I wouldn't change anything at Orange. The thing I do think that needs more light is what is already there, which is just culture and trust. So like the bubble that exists at Orange is just everybody shows up and there's so many volunteers, so many different activities. It's on me to be able to want to have those things. The other part though is that trust factor, right? So what have I put forth that'll give my warden an opportunity to lean on me, right? So I say that because when I first got into prison, when I got my risk assessment at Polk, I was in youth spread at the time, the guy's like, you're from out of state, you're doing 10 years, you're never gonna get work release. So I entered my entire prison with that mentality. And then I got here and she's like, sure, you can go out. I'm like, it's kind of like, it felt like a trick almost. In any case, if the prison provides a culture where there is the belief that I can do better, I will do better. If there is trust to say, well, let's give you a shot, that's on me to foul it or not. But ultimately, I think those two things go hand in hand for being able to create what you're asking.
So I agree with the rest of the panel that, it's going to take interchange to change. But I do think that, for example, I'll go a little rogue. At our facility, we have a special management housing unit, right? So the term going down the hill is like it's a negative connotation because now you're being punished for something that you did. Now, you deserve to be punished for what you did, but it's still a negative connotation thereof. But just imagine if you took the special management housing unit, made it an incentive dorm, you put the work release people down there and people that are incentivized to do better inside of the facility. Now you can reframe the fact of going down the hill as being something positive. Now you give some of these guys that may not see the light of day in the prison system something to look forward to. Now, it doesn't have to be nothing fancy, but just the fact that, okay, you're seen as being someone other than that guy that causes trouble or that gal that causes trouble. I think we can reframe the structures and the buildings that we already have within the prison system to make them places of inclusiveness and welcomeness versus somewhere where you're being punished for something that you may have done or had verbal back and forth with a custody officer. So my whole thing is that we can make the facilities better, but we all have to do it. It's going to take me, it's going to take the custody staff, it's going to take the warden, it's going to take the programmers, it's going to take the men and women inside these facilities to see that there's something better besides just being that wrong person. We can all do better. That's it.
Reached the end of this panel, and I thank everybody here for your attention. And Christopher, I wanted to focus on something you said. You talked about the redemptive power of knowing that people care and how important, and you got that from your CV pass experience, just being treated like a human being in public. And so I hope that all of you see how much everybody cares who's sitting in this room. So thank you. Thank everybody. Yeah. Thank you, people at DAC. Thank you, community partners. Thank you, panel, for your vulnerability. I don't know that I could have sat up here and been as vulnerable as all of you have been. And so thank you for your bravery. You all immediately said, yes, I'll do this. And you didn't look back. So thank you so much. And now we'll have lunch.